They started the tournament, Janelli, you were at the game, weren't they, against Mexico, looking completely devoid of ideas, and look at the difference a couple of games makes.
Yeah, it is amazing how quickly it changes in the group stage as well. Belief comes from sometimes disappointment, right? And you learn a lot from defeat. And sometimes you don't lose, you learn, and you continue to try to build on defeat so that you'll be better the next time. Didn't expect this type of performance against a South Korea side who I thought were awful in this game. But you take nothing away from South Africa. They were the better team by far. They played the better football. They created more chances. They took more shots. They look more dynamic. And obviously now we're looking at the South Africa side who have now created history for South African soccer by getting out of the group stage for the first time. It's magical for a nation that has been through so much. So many domestic players are in that squad in South Africa. We see a lot of different nations. Let's even take South Korea, for example. How many of their players play domestically? Not many of them at all. If you look at South Africa's squad, I think it's 75% of their players play domestic football. And what that does for the domestic league, and what that will do for the next generation of young boys and girls who want to go play football is amazing. It's truly inspirational. But the way they did it, Adam, it was fun to watch. They created so many good chances by dynamism, just the way they played. They wanted to attack early. And I think they caught South Korea by surprise. There's a number of great individuals that we can talk, but so many of them deserve a lot of praise for that type of a performance.
I definitely agree with you. And you know what stands out to me the most from this match is sometimes I think in football, it's the team that wants it the most is the team that wins. And it sounds cliche, but I think today was a clear example of that. You can see it in their body language. The South African players, they were hungry. They were fighting for every ball. They were taking risks going forward. And on the other end, South Korea was kind of like, felt like for moments complacent with their performance. And South Africa was, they were a different beast. This was not the same South African side that Mexico faced in match day one. So I'm very, very happy for them. And you can see what it meant to them post game, how they were embracing with the coach, with each other, and just how much this means to an entire country. And this is what makes football so beautiful. It's not just a game. It's not just 3 points. It's not just scoring in the back of the net. It's hope for an entire country.
Yeah.
And we talked, didn't we, in the lead up to the World Cup, this was one of the nations that was in disarray. There was a lot of criticism, negativity towards Hugo Broos. Team selection, leaving the goalkeeper out. What was the quote that he didn't know him enough and didn't pick him? And he is a guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. He says what he feels in press conferences, and we celebrate that in the media. And after the first performance was getting a lot of criticism. I know back home in South Africa they were thinking, is this the right guy for the job? And we saw the celebration at the end. You know, he fell down on his knees, and you could see how much it meant to him to have proven the public wrong, didn't he? That have got it right, Ian.
Yeah, very special for Hugo Broos. I mean, it's one of those difficult points when you've got to make difficult decisions. Who goes to the World Cup and who doesn't? As I mentioned already, a lot of those players play domestically, so the media, the supporters, they all have a big say on who's selected because they watch them every single week inside the stadiums. Everyone has an opinion. But he's the national team coach and has to make a difficult decision now and again. The choice to go for Ronwen Williams, though, put him the captain, and obviously, even in this game, he didn't have to do too much, but he made 2 massive saves in this game that got them this incredible victory to create history. Difficult decisions is not easy, and I'm sure you've been on the wrong end of it as well as I have, that sometimes you get left out and it hurts. But if the team goes on and have success, you're some way pleased for them. You're disappointed you're not a part of it, but you're pleased for them. But when you're a part of that squad and you're the one that got selected and you actually turn up on the day, there's no better feeling than rewarding your coach by getting them through and out of this group stage. It's a special occasion for South Africa.
And it continues a theme, Janelli, of these African teams doing well at this World Cup. Cape Verde have kind of been the minnow team that have shone a light on the world stage, but also South Africa now. We saw Egypt, they look like they're going to get through. Morocco have already moved through as well. So for the whole nation of Africa, or the continent of Africa, these are teams that are really shining a light, aren't they? Yeah,
definitely. It just shows they might not be the most talented individually. They might not be the most talented collectively. They might not play in the best leagues in the world. But when they come out and play with pride, they play with all of their heart, and then they don't rule themselves out. I think a lot of people thought South Africa, oh, they're out of this. But they were probably the only ones that were like, no, we're still in this. And at the end of the day, the 11 players on the pitch are the most important players, are the ones that are fully in control. The coach is the one that makes those decisions. He's the one that chooses who starts, who plays, who comes off the bench. And those are the real decisions that matter. It doesn't matter what everybody else is thinking. What matters is that those players on the pitch believe and do it with actions on the field. And today, South Africa did that.
The opposite can be said for South Korea, because they won their game on match day 1, didn't they? They beat Czechia, and then they've completely fumbled it to finish 3rd.
Yeah, what a disappointment. I think that second game was always going to be difficult for them, right, though, going up against Mexico. I mean, it's tough, I think, for South Korean football now. And then you've got Son, who's an absolute icon in their football, being left on the bench. Probably the right decision, because his poor performance in the second game and the first game, where he just wasn't good enough in front of goal. And he hasn't been this season in Major League Soccer either. They were poor. I didn't think there was too many standout individuals for them, full stop. I thought a number of individuals who got selected going into the team, and I'm including Hyung-gu Oh, who plays for Besiktas, former Glasgow Celtic player. He stepped up, got the opportunity up front, and they had one shot on target. When you're playing for South Korea, I think now, because of the name that the previous generation, including Sonny, obviously created, there's expectation that comes with that. And unfortunately, the group just let themselves down badly. That's a tough group, though, to get out of. I know we can look at South Africa and we can look at Czechia and say, OK, South Korea should be winning that game. But actually, the way South Korea played that game, it looked like there was nothing on the line. There was no intensity. There didn't look like there was much belief in that group there. That obviously has to start with the coach, and maybe even the team selection will come under question.
They're now not sure who they will face in the round of 32. So they've got this, well, just like we were talking about with Scotland earlier on, they've got this difficult few days where they don't really know who they're going to be preparing to face. Here's the table currently. So South Korea in 4th position alongside many teams on 3 points. Some of those have played 3 games, as they have, and then there's a few others who have only played a couple of games, so this could change massively.
Yeah. Also head to, obviously goal difference comes into play now as well, because if you look at Paraguay and Algeria even above Scotland, difficult games coming up for them. But then if you look at DR Congo, Belgium underneath, Ecuador do have Germany, but Belgium, Congo have relatively easier games that you would expect for them to win. I honestly think the goal difference is going to come into huge question here now, and especially for South Korea. It'll be interesting to see, you know, how they handle the moment as well, because that's a big loss for them. But well done to South Africa, though, right? Now they play Canada. I would imagine, Janelli, they might be quite happy with that draw.
That's exciting. Yeah, I think for both Canada, from Canada's perspective, and then from South Africa's perspective, I think they're both going into that match thinking, it's a match that either team
am I
can
right
win.
in thinking it's not in Canada?
Los Angeles.
Yes,
Really?
there we go. Because I think if Canada had won today, they would have assured themselves staying in Canada, which is, I think, personally, a completely different prospect, playing Canada in Toronto or Vancouver, for example, rather than playing them there. So that's another bonus for them.
The only other thing to think of what is a benefit, if you had, obviously they're playing against South Africa now in Los Angeles. If it was South Korea in Los Angeles, can you imagine?
South Korea would have the
Can you imagine the amount of people that were turned up in that stadium? I mean, with how many, you know, obviously South Koreans there are in that region, it would have been an incredible atmosphere for South Korea. They would have had a massive advantage against Canada. This time, I think Janelli's right. I think both nations will go into this thinking, we can win this.